What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the Reel Down. It's your host here, Garrett. Jimmy's not here with me again tonight. He's bailing on me. Um, he says he'll be back next week, so we'll see. We'll see if that's true or not. Um, but hope everybody had a good weekend and everything. It's hot as hell out here, in a lot of other parts of the country. Yeah, we got hurricanes moving in and all kinds of stuff. So I hope everybody's having a good time. I had a chance to fish the native no limit event from a couple weeks ago. We had Vinny on to talk about, and it was hot. I didn't do so well, and didn't get to sleep at all, and had to deal with the newborn all night, and then drove straight to the lake, and it was a disaster for me. But it wasn't for these guys. We got a Tennessee crew here on here tonight, but first we'll start with Ethan. Ethan, how you doing tonight?
What's up? I'm having a good day, just traveling.
Yeah, you're on the
Jordan
on the
calls it.
road in that McDonald's Wi-Fi right now. Looks like
Yeah,
it's coming in pretty good.
it is going in pretty good. Jordan calls it road dogging. I like to call it a traveling circus.
Yeah, everybody's
Yeah,
got their terms for it, but that's cool,
yeah.
man. So did you go straight from Guntersville down to Mobile, I guess,
I
or
spent one night at the house and then I went back down. So, yeah,
on the road dogging or traveling circus?
yeah, yeah.
You're gonna have to get you a big RV or some kind of camper or something and just
Those
live in that.
those little transit vans, they're expensive.
Yeah, yeah, they are. You can maybe find some used ones that
Yeah,
aren't too bad, but
I'll just stick with
uh,
my Dodge Ram. So,
yeah. Well, so for any of our listeners that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into kayak fishing and tournament fishing?
yeah. Well, I'm Ethan Jett. I'm 25. I live in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I've been kayak fishing for about 6 years, and I
Okay,
started competitive fishing about 4 years ago. Um, I
I
actually
think I might have
started.
fished some of the first events that you were fishing in, like
Yeah,
when you were just getting started.
I knew nothing when I first
Yeah.
started. Nothing. My dad was always a crappie and a catfish guy, live bait. We'd go and fish live bait all the time. I met a guy, one of my best friends, at high school, and
Hmm.
he told me the great world of kayak bass fishing. So I went
Oh
and bought a
man.
sun dolphin. My parents bought me a sun dolphin. I started kayak fishing and I fell in love with it.
What's it like going from that Sun Dolphin to your 360 now?
It's it's not even. I can't. You can't even
Yeah.
compare it. I jumped from the sun dolphin to a big rig, and then
Okay,
I
you made a
jumped from.
giant jump.
Yes, yes, yeah. Um, then I jumped from the big rig to a bona fide, and then the Hobie. So I started out with a 180, the
That's
classic
awesome.
180, and now I've got this would be my first 360. So
Hmm. Wow. So I mean, you've only been tournament fishing for what, 4 years now? You said so.
yeah,
You've had some pretty good success in that
I've been
short
lucky.
term. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah, that's
people are
awesome.
jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could go ahead and throw me on there. I've been working hard and getting my ass kicked
yeah. Well,
consistently.
I get my butt kicked a lot too. So
Yeah.
we're all in there.
You just gotta learn to take it and rebound and learn
Yes,
from
yeah,
it.
yeah. Was it? I'm a big G-Man fan, and one of his biggest saying is positive mental attitude.
Yeah, for sure.
PMA.
For
So
sure. It's there's definitely some truth to that.
yes, yeah.
Well, without further ado, so Ethan was our runner up from the event, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But our winner from the event, Mr. Jordan Marshall, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How y'all? Ooh, excuse me. How y'all doing?
You're good. You're good. Just hanging in there. So if anybody that doesn't know you, like, introduce yourself a little bit. I'm sure somebody's heard of you that's listening, but uh,
Yeah. So I'm Jordan Marshall. This is my 10th year traveling and fishing kayak tournaments. Just turned 28. I just started a podcast called Road Dogging. and
You're
yeah, I
a fun back
travel around and
studio
fish as many
setup.
tournaments as I can.
That's awesome, man. You started 10 years ago?
Yeah, so my first, I wish I could reach the little trophy thing I have up there. The first kayak tournament I fished was November of 2013. It was actually a tournament put on by Drew Gregory,
Hmm.
called. It was basically college kayak fishing, event on Guntersville. So to do really well at a tournament at Guntersville, kind of this time of year as it kind of starts transitioning out of summer and into fall. It's really cool. It kind of has like a full circle kind of moment of
Yeah,
the
for
first event
sure.
we fished were we had a team. We didn't have enough from like one college or whatever to go have a whole team. So we had a 3-man team of me at Pellissippi State Community College and one guy, Hunter from UTC, and another guy named Wraith from Columbia Community College out there, kind of closer to Ethan than me. But
Yeah.
I had never met them before. We had talked online, and uh, Jeff Luckett actually sent me a jersey in the mail. Had never met him at the time either, and I just really fell in love with the kayak community before I'd even really met that many people. So drove down there, got down there. I don't know. I left at like midnight because I couldn't sleep, and I just drove down there and slept in a hotel for like 2 hours in the chair.
Yeah,
And
I know that feeling.
yeah, it was, I was road dogging before I had any idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And we had a great event, and our team won. I finished second in the individual. I've got a black pack that's got engraved on it, first place team, and I've got that hanging up in the shop here. So it's cool that I fished this kind of stuff for 10 years, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And I've been very very blessed to meet a lot of awesome people.
Yeah, that's a cool story, man. That's kinda crazy that it's come full circle like that, like, that's where you started and that's where I mean, your career's nowhere from being over, but that's where
Yeah,
you're at right now.
yeah. Most people who either didn't know about that kind of story or had seen a Facebook post I'd made at the end of 2021 to follow up Drew after he won the 2020 Hobie AOY. To me,
Mhm.
follow it up with the 2021 was special to me because um, Drew's been a big player in our sport. The second kayak I ever got, the first one was a Pelican Castaway 110, I think, and the second kayak I ever got was a Jackson Coosa that of course had Drew
Yeah.
Gregory's signature watercraft on it.
That's
And
awesome.
that's kind of cool to follow him up with AOY
Yeah.
2 years ago. That was really special to me just to win that, but to follow up with Drew after that, because I probably wouldn't have taken this as seriously as I did if it wasn't for Drew putting on those events back then.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Like, that's a cool start to that's one of the coolest starts I've heard as far as, like, getting into kayak tournament fishing,
Yeah,
and
it was.
then seeing how
Yeah,
that's developed over the decade.
yeah. Yeah, it's
That's
that's a really special deal. I can't thank Drew enough for holding those events, and there's really nobody that's still fishing from those events, but I keep track of those guys on Facebook. They're not really kayak fishing. A couple of them have bass boats and kind of do that kind of thing, but
yeah.
it's really just me at this point. So I'm holding it down for the college kayak guys now that but now the cool thing is they have their own series, that
Yeah,
Hobie puts on. And
there's a whole 'nother generation of them now, and
yeah.
they're kicking ass and taking names
Yeah,
already.
it's incredible how good those young guys are. And I was actually kind of close to becoming one of the college kayak fishing coach at Carson Newman. I don't know how many
Hmm,
people actually knew that or not, but that was something that I had conversation with them about. And nearly, it felt like that was something that I had considered doing, just because you know I understand what can come of that, just
yeah.
from college kayak fishing. And that's a really cool setup. It's there's a lot more guys doing it now than there was then. And Ewing is obviously a fantastic fisherman, a hammer. Jackson is a hammer. There's
Yeah,
a
for
lot of
sure.
guys in the college kayak fishing that are really, really good anglers that are going to do a lot, whether they stay in kayak fishing or not. They're going to be at the top of whatever they end up doing.
And you see that a lot with like even in basketball too. There's a lot of those guys that come into like the elite series trails or the opens, and they're way beyond their years in experience.
Yeah.
They're some freaking hammers. Uh, well, we got sidetracked there a little bit, but let's get back to the event a little. So, did either of you guys get a chance to pre-fish for this event, or you just kind of fish off of history? I know Jordan, you just said you got a ton of. Sounds like you got a ton of history on Guntersville. So,
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time at Guntersville. That was somewhere that me and my dad used to go on fall breaks a lot. That was pretty much the only time we go down there. We go down there for a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
yeah.
and go down there and try to catch some frog fish. That was my PB for a long time was on a frog. One of the best days me and my dad ever had were throwing rattle traps in the back of Goose Pond, and just that was my dad caught a giant. We doubled up, and it was just I've got a lot of really fond memories at Guntersville. I've actually got some
Hmm.
extended family that has a house that I stay in quite a bit near Jackson County Park.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty handy.
yeah, a lot of the times if I stay multiple days, that's where I end up going. I try not
Hmm.
to bother too many people. So if I go down there for a 1 day event like the native event, I've got a little system where, all my stuff charged. I don't need to recharge anything. So I just, kind of keep to myself. I go down there and take a look at a few creeks and that kind of thing. I kind of know what should be happening this time of year. I just make
Yeah,
sure there's no strange water color or algae bloom, make sure nothing's turning over or anything weird like
yeah.
that. And
I really wish I
or
had a chance to do that before this event because the place I ended up going to was so choked out with grass that I couldn't even like fish what I
yeah,
wanted to fish, and I just
yeah, a
wasted
lot of
half
that
my
is
day.
you can tell by looking at it what's going on because Guntersville's had a lot of growth this year for grass. I
Hmm.
noticed that when we were there for the local TVKA event
Yeah.
about a
Well, did
month
that
ago,
happen?
3 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I thought it was like a couple, like just recently that
Yeah,
happened.
it was only a month or so ago because the week before was Wisconsin, and the week before that was Pickwick, and then
Yeah.
so it was 3 weeks ago we were at Guntersville, and I caught him on a buzz bait. Went to Pickwick, caught him on a buzz bait, and then figured I was like, you know what, I'm just going to show back up and keep throwing a buzz bait and see what happens.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you can go wrong with that.
yeah, it fits my style. It kind of fits this time of year to what I'm trying to accomplish and to try to find active fish. And
I think
that's kind of just the way it goes.
one of the first times I ever fished Guntersville was at one of the creeks on the north end, and I was with somebody that had that's all he threw that whole day was a buzz bait, and I watched him catch like 98 inches, and it was like the biggest limit I'd ever seen in person, and I was like,
I'd be willing to bet that guy has the same initials as me. Is that correct?
yes,
I am aware. I even know where you're at
Yep.
yeah,
in that story.
yeah. Yeah, that guy, he's the first person I ever fished Guntersville with, and that opened my eyes
That's a
pretty
good
quick to
teacher
that
right there.
place. Yeah.
That is a good teacher.
Uh, but yeah, that's I mean, keep doing it if the buzzbait's working. That's no reason to quit, I guess.
Yeah, I think when we get back there and what is it? Not this weekend, but next weekend we've got our
Yeah,
state championship down there. I'd be shocked if they hadn't transitioned a little bit more onto the frog bite. I
yeah,
only had one blow up on a frog, and it was probably 18-inch fish that came off on the way to the boat, and
mm,
it was right in a spot where it made sense where it should have been. And honestly, I didn't know kind of the super key areas where I fished at Saturday because it was somewhere I'd never actually fished before.
yeah,
It just looked very similar to other places that I really like to fish this time of year. I've kind of got my rotation of where I like to go on Guntersville based on the season.
yeah.
And
Makes sense.
oh, my screen turned off there. Hope that didn't turn off on there.
No, you're
Eh,
good. You're still
all
with us.
righty. Yeah, apparently I got my computer on battery saving mode, so we got to keep this mouse moving.
Yeah.
But I've got my kind of rotation of what I like to fish depending on the season, and a lot of like I fished a lot of events down there, so I kind of know the key areas of where I should and shouldn't spend time on.
Yeah.
And
Makes
I
sense.
basically was just kind of practicing. I was like, if I don't catch anything for the native event, no biggie. It's not a points event. I'll learn something for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And I learned more than my fair share just fishing an area that looked a lot similar to what I really like fishing, and it really worked out. I talked about on stays I really wasn't trying to fish for a big fish. I went there with the intention of catching a bunch of fish and kind of seeing where that was going to take me. And luckily I got a couple big bites. I won an hourly and just caught a good number of fish in the 14 and 15-inch range to kind of keep me rolling through that.
Yeah, that was the big key that I didn't realize how much of an impact it would make was that 14-inch minimum for this.
Yeah.
Um, like I caught all my fish on a frog, and I lost a couple big ones on a frog that made me really mad. The first one was probably could have won that first hour, but it was a new reel that I hadn't set the drag on it yet, and as soon as I set into it, I felt it go straight out. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Gets you every
Done.
time. Mm.
Every time, man. I don't know what I don't ever remember to tighten the drag down when I put a new reel on. uh, but the frog bite I think is there. It started for sure. I caught it later that afternoon. I caught 5 or 6 fish that were under that 14-inch mark that I was like, I was like, oh, for sure this is gonna be a 14. It's 13.75. Like, god dang. That was so frustrating. But did that change like how you approach like your fishing at all? That little bit larger minimum, or you just fish the same way you would have fished?
It was basically I didn't really change anything. The only thing I did is I probably spent a lot more time throwing a caffeine shad on a couple flats I knew there were fish,
Yeah.
and just trying to work my way through until I quit getting bites. Normally I probably would have just frogged it and buzz baited the areas between the grass and just probably kept on rolling. And I threw a caffeine shad in there because I knew there was still more active fish in there. Ended up catching a couple of my better fish. I caught like 18 and a half and a 17 and a
Mm,
half, which were, in my top 5 best of my 19 or so I caught. And, you know, it wasn't that I was fishing for smaller fish. I just knew there were more bites to be had in there. I kind of assumed they might be 14-inch fish based on, one of the ones I caught were 14, and it just happened to be better quality fish that wanted something a little bit different than the buzz bait.
yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What about you, Ethan? Yeah, you didn't get to hear from you very much yet so
Yeah.
far, but
Was it
did you get to practice any for this, or you just
I
show up?
did. I did.
Okay,
I went down Thursday and Friday the week before, fished a couple of new areas, and actually
okay,
found the area that I fished on the tournament. And the water was I didn't realize they pulled the water down 2 feet between then and the tournament. I
yeah.
got in there.
That
It
definitely
was,
would have made an impact.
yeah.
I think that
Surprisingly, it didn't hurt it. I think it hurt the bite way in the creek where a couple of people went,
yeah,
and I was on the out, like the mouth of the creeks and all that. That's what I like to fish. I don't like. I'll get up in the back of creek, but this time of year, I always stay on the outskirts. And
well, you didn't miss anything. I'll tell you that much.
that's what I
At
kind of
least where
figured.
I was at.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
fished a few backs of creeks and practices and didn't catch anything, so nothing to
there
make me
was
want to
fish
come back.
there. Getting to them was a chore, so
Yes,
I
yeah,
would recommend it.
yeah, yeah. That's the only bad thing about the PA 14s. They're a little big to
Oh
get back
yeah,
in the back. So,
yeah.
um,
You can paddle it through some grass though. My
yeah, yeah,
biggest pet peeve paddling through grass though is using the bending branches paddle that has that little tiny little hook on it.
yeah,
It always hooks grass and it just like
yeah,
flings it all over the place.
I've got the
yeah,
same one.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I do
every
too.
time I use it, I'm like, why am I still using this paddle? Like, I only ever paddle when I'm in grass, and I hate this paddle for grass. So,
Yeah,
um,
but
so you focus more on like mouths of creeks than
yes,
than
yeah,
in backs of creeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went. That was Friday. I went back out there the Friday before the tournament.
Okay.
You know, I didn't go back to the same spot. I went to a new spot that I've never been to, and I caught them okay. They're two fishing the same exact stuff, but I went back in the tournament on day one on Saturday was
Yeah.
when I found out that the water was down, and it didn't hurt me at all. I was surprised when I first started. I was like, "Oh crap!" And I still caught them the way I was catching them in practice. So
Yeah.
I got
Well,
lucky on
if
that.
you don't have to tell exactly, but what kind of stuff were you patterning? I guess like what were you looking for? Or what kind of baits? Not exactly baits, but techniques were you using?
Yeah, I was. I'll just tell you. I was mainly focusing on patches of grass
Okay.
that was in. I didn't
Like
catch a single
isolated
fish.
sections
Yes,
of
yeah,
grass. Okay.
isolated grass and edges of the big mats.
Hmm.
I'll frog fish a little bit. And I don't like it because you lose so many fish. So I
Yeah.
actually caught the
I will
majority
live
of
and
my.
die by the frog, though.
Yeah, yeah. I just it heartbreaks you. You know,
Yeah.
you miss so many big ones, and I hate missing big fish. So I actually caught a majority of mine on a popper, fishing the edges of grass.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and them treble hooks. I only lost one fish during the whole day, and that was on the treble hook. And he probably didn't grab it either. He just swiped at it or something.
Yeah.
But so I would start off in the morning with a popper around the grass, the
Okay.
mats, and then I switched to a chatterbait and a wacky worm, and fishing around docks in the isolated
Classic
grass.
Guntersville
Yeah,
patterns. Yeah.
yeah. No joke. I said it up there on the stage. I caught 10 fish off the same dock.
That's
I've
a
never.
special dock.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not telling
Yeah.
anybody where that's at.
Drop a pin on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I probably won't catch a single thing in the
I'm gonna
bass.
go find your truck sitting there at that McDonald's and
Yeah,
come steal your memory card.
it's sitting behind me, so you better not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So were they all keepers for this event?
All but two of them were all
Okay.
keepers. Yeah, and four
Wow.
of them was 19 plus inches.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You definitely
wild.
need to save that one for
Yeah,
coming up a couple weeks.
I will definitely. They probably will not be on it, but who knows?
Did you name them before you put them back? You can
I
catch
should
up with
have.
them again a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully they'll be there. If not, I'm pretty good at breaking down the same areas, finding them pretty quickly. So
Mhm.
we'll be. I'll probably go out. I go to Guntersville. Not a lot, but that's my favorite lake to fish out of all the ones. So
I think a lot of people in Tennessee, for some reason, Guntersville's like their favorite lake to fish.
yeah.
I guess it's just the region. And a lot of people in the region like fishing Guntersville.
Well,
But,
the cool thing about Guntersville, even in this heat, it was 99, 100 degrees outside that day, and you still caught fish in the middle of the day.
yeah,
Like you can't go to a lot of places and catch fish all day, and the size of fish that you catch.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure. There's a lot of we'll get into that in here in a minute, but there was a lot of good fish caught at this event. I was kind of surprised at what won the hourly every hour. It seemed like,
I
Yeah, it
was
was a
too.
21 every hour, right?
yeah, I think all
Yeah.
except for the last hour, it was like a 20 and a half or something like that. But
I'm
every
pretty sure
hour
I got
Crazy.
beat by a quarter of an inch on that hour. I had a 20 and a quarter.
on the last hour,
Yeah.
let me see if I can. I don't know if it shows on Tourney X the hourly.
I did not see it.
Yeah, I can't see it either. Um. Anyways, we'll have to consult the native people about that one. Maybe say, hey, there was a something off with that one. It was a quarter inch off.
Deduction, late deduction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late deduction. um, so going through that event, I mean, you guys were smashing them. And Ethan, you had the lead for like almost the whole day. It
Yeah.
seemed like I remember I loaded up and changed ramps like halfway through the day, and just checked the leaderboard at that time to see what was going on, and I saw you were up by like 40 inches or something like that on
Yeah.
second place. I was like, wow, Ethan, dude, that's awesome. I was happy for you. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, I hope he keeps that up. Um, so what was going through your mind through that
I,
day?
I was just keeping my head down. I never even looked at the scoreboard. I know I caught a couple of 19s. I was like, this probably be a pretty. I think I'm doing pretty decent because I'm not watching anybody else catch any fish around me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I started getting floods of text messages, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Keep it up, come on." I'm like, and I would text them back, "I'm not looking. Don't tell me.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to start missing fish because I get a little
Nervous or
nervous or
yeah.
something." And so I
I could
never looked at it until I looked at it right before the standings went off, just to have an idea. I didn't even know how
what
many inches I had, and I looked at it.
what did you have at that time before the standings went off? Like, how
It
were you
was,
still you're still in the lead, right? But like, was it
yeah,
a pretty good lead or
I think I had like a 38-inch lead when they cut it off. I
wow?
had like 238 and something, and I
Yeah,
caught two more fish after they cut it off, and one was a 20 on
very
a
nice.
late fish, 20 and a quarter on a chatterbait.
Yeah,
You know.
man.
But
So you had to be feeling pretty good as long as somebody wasn't sandbagging or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now y'all know better. I've
yeah,
preached enough against people sandbagging. I had SOS service all day. I couldn't look at nothing on the leaderboard. I couldn't make a phone call. I couldn't get anything to
yeah.
do work or at
Hey, that
all.
might have helped you. I mean, I like sometimes when nobody can get a hold of me, and like there's kind
yeah.
of a peace of mind that it's like nobody's gonna bother me for 8 hours or whatever. But
I always get
uh,
nervous because I feel like I'm gonna lose my phone,
oh
and I always
yeah,
get nervous when I can't upload fish because all it takes is one drop and you're done.
and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, there's a lot worse than that's gonna happen, but yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but how
I
were you
was
feeling at check-in? Did you think that there was a chance that you were gonna win it, or
Nah, I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't think I was gonna be in the top five. I kind of
wow?
figured because Josh was behind me, and I was like, oh, Josh will get me.
Yeah,
And you can ask Steve Staples, who I was sitting beside. I told him, I said, I'm not getting anywhere close. Yeah,
yeah,
Guntersville, it should, you can get 250 inches. You can catch 20s all day long. So I kind of figured it'd take more than 300 inches to be in at least top three.
yeah. And I will say that it seems like especially this time of year, it's definitely like a feast or famine kind of
Yeah, yeah.
deal. Like there's a lot of people that struggle, um,
Well, I know
but
up
the people that
north,
are at the top are like smashing them.
yeah, I know up north the signal gets a little spotty, and
Mm.
I kind of figured somebody was setting out on a ledge bite and just wearing them out. You can put up so many fish on a ledge and
Yeah,
in
I
30
could see
minutes.
that too.
You
So
know.
there was the second ramp I went to was at Honeycomb, and
Okay, yeah, I practiced
um,
there. Yeah.
there was a small bass boat tournament that was weighing in there when we were leaving, and one of the guys I was with was talking to the people at the ramp, and I think they said 24 pounds was leading their event,
ooh,
and they had five other bags over 19 pounds.
Oh wow.
And they said all of them were fishing deep and ledges,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not. You can catch me dead out there doing that, but
I spent all day on the Thursday before fishing deep, and I caught a few, but nothing to write home about. Which it was cooler that day, those
yeah,
2 days. And I know in Guntersville, I've always caught them really good offshore when it gets 90 plus, and that water gets up in the 90s.
yeah. I saw some 90s.
Yeah, I had 92 where I was at.
that's
I don't.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like that's hot. That's a hot
yeah,
tub.
yeah.
Uh,
I didn't even want to put my hat down in there to cool off because it was so hot.
yeah, yeah. That one worked. Well, Jordan, how about you, man? How was your day? I know you said you caught him on a buzz bait, and you were at somewhere with no service, so nobody knew what you were doing or how you were doing, and I guess you didn't know how everybody else was doing either. So
Yeah,
how
I
did
had
you
no idea.
feel?
My morning started off a little strange. I went and checked a spot that there were, half a dozen people at in kind of a small area, and I was like, well, I'm not going to bother with this.
Yeah,
And I went to my second spot. There were a couple guys there. It was more main channel, and I was like, well, I don't really want to share this because there's not a whole lot to fish there. And my third spot, I had kind of checked just driving around on Friday night. Realized they had kind of sprayed some. It looked like they had sprayed some grass, and based on some people I'd talked to, said that they had sprayed the grass that week. So I kind of just drove back towards service and kind of looked at my phone, looked at the maps, and ended up going to a spot that I had been to before, but never had fished it the way I did. I kind of went in the complete opposite direction, and I got there probably 50 minutes after lines in, I guess, and just started covering water. Was just going to try to break it down. I was kind of going
yeah,
further up a creek, and a John boat was coming out, and I was like, "Did y'all catch him?" And they were like, "Well, we had a bunch of bites, but they were kind of small, and they kept coming off." I was like, "All right." Not 5 minutes after that, they may not have been out of sight. I caught a 20 and a half, and I was like, "All right, we can play with this because
yeah. I can work
if
with this.
yeah, if
Yeah,
they said they're getting bites and they thought they were small and there's big fish out here, I was like, I can probably figure this out and make this work. And found some fish on a flat, and kind of cycled through them after I caught a couple with a buzz bait, caught them on a caffeine shad, and then basically just went and covered a bunch of water, just trying to break it down with a buzz bait. Caught a big fish, got that 21 and a half, and was like, I'm just throwing this buzz bait the rest of the day. And that's pretty much what I
yeah.
did. I threw it the rest of the day, and every time one would miss it or come off, I'd throw a caffeine shad in there, and pretty much most of the time they would eat it. And
That's awesome.
I focused on about a 300-yard area that had a spring in the middle of it, and right over top of the spring was crystal clear water. It was very cold.
Hmm.
I was putting a fish back in it and kind of realized how cold it was. We'll put it this way, um, you know, you would have a bait kind of dangling off the kayak. Everybody's seen
Yeah,
how I'm just kind
yeah,
of a mess with all my. I had one hanging off the back of the kayak. It was probably the caffeine shad where the tail of it was in the water, and I went to kind of fix it up on the hook, and it was like cold to the touch, like the hook was even cold.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, "Oh," I was like, this water, I mean, there's a lot of water coming out of this thing."
Yeah,
So, they weren't directly over top of the spring. I almost wonder if it was too cold. I saw one bass kinda in that general area.
like shock them almost
Yeah,
with
it was, I
like
mean, the
being that
water the
cold.
water temp had to been, like, in the low 60s, I think. I didn't have
Jeez.
depth finder on the
Yeah,
kayak, but I could stick my hands in the water, and it would almost, it wasn't like, frigid. It was just kind of numbing the
yeah.
senses, right? Because it's 100 degrees outside. Most of the water temp around is 90 degrees out, in those flats,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
90 to
little area was
92.
just cold, cold, and
Hmm.
they weren't directly on it. They were about 300 yards on each side of it. So I spent probably a third of my fish were probably within 300 yards on each side, a third here, a third there, and then just kind of a third that were scattered out on that one flat first thing in the morning.
Wow.
And I just kind of went back and forth, and I quit fishing about 12:30 because I wasn't sure how far away from check-in I was. I didn't have any service,
Yeah,
and I couldn't submit my fish, couldn't figure out how far away I was from directional aspect.
yeah.
And I knew what it took to win at Susquehanna for the native event, and that was kind of my goal, was to kind of hit that benchmark of having 16, 17 fish and having 260 or whatever. um Chris
Yeah.
Schaefer, I think, had it Susky. So when I kind of met that, I kind of just was pretty chill at that point, and fished my way back. Had probably three or four fish come off because I wasn't I wasn't kind of in like locked into that zone at that point, and I was really just like, as soon as I catch my 20th fish, I'm just gonna leave. I'm good, you know.
Yeah.
And I lost my 20th fish like 4 times on the way back to the ramp, and I was like, man, should I do this? Should I do that? And then I was like, you know, maybe 20's in my head for a reason. And I picked up a glide bait and went to throw a glide bait on a real specific spot that kind of looked glide baity.
Yeah.
And
That had that
yeah,
feel to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I motored out there, and they were two young kids swimming, and I basically just motored out there. Was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out here on the main channel. I've already got this glide bait in my hand. It's on
Yeah.
the brain, and I motored out to the main channel. And as soon as I get out there was a bass boat lay it down on the point, and I just turned around and came back. So I spent the last little bit, you know, probably 45 minutes just motoring, and I was pretty much off the water by 12:30, 12:45, something like that. And just, you know, 1 o'clock, I
Man.
was basically done motoring. I loaded up and, you know, kind of gave it a farewell for the last hour and a half, drove back to town and submitted all 19 fish, you know, basically
All
as
at
I
once.
was, yeah, all at once. And Vinny was giving me a hard time. And I
Yeah,
finally got
I'm sure the
everything.
judges loved you for that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they hated me, and you know I was submitting fish, and I was like, all right, cool, I got them all, and I just went on Tourney X and looked, and I had 18 fish on there, and I knew I had 19 fish, and I was like, man. So I had to like, I was trying to look at what I had on my phone, look at what was on Tourney X. I
Yeah,
couldn't figure out what was what. I ended
that's
up
what I was
like,
getting ready to ask you. Did you have a way to delineate
I
between
grabbed a
fish and stuff?
napkin and my Sharpie that I write my codes with, and I went on Tourney X and wrote down the length of every fish. And then I went through my pictures and wrote down the length of every fish on the pictures, realized I was missing a 15-inch fish, resubmitted the 15-inch fish, and it popped up as duplicate. And I was like, okay, that's strange. Maybe it's the other 15-inch fish. Submitted that one, it was duplicated. I was like, what in the world? And looked back through, and I had a 14.5-inch fish on Tourney X that was a 15 that got deducted half an inch. So
Oh,
then I took it out, tried to resubmit a better picture. It got docked a half inch again, found the 14.5 inch because I had 14.5 inch fish and trying to figure out which one
jeez.
was which. So not only did I have to write down all the 14.5s, I had to write down something specific about each picture. Oh, the rod was sideways in this picture.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, my foot's in the picture on this one. And then I had to kind of do process of elimination to try to figure out which 14.5 I was missing.
Yeah, it sounded
Submitted
like you
it.
needed that extra hour to
Oh yeah,
get
I
that done.
spent a good bit of time just, you know, kind of sitting there about, I don't know, maybe 5 miles from check-in, just kind of sitting there in the middle of town because I had good service in that specific spot. Just basically
Yeah.
pulled over on the side of that main highway. It wasn't like I was even in a parking lot. I was just pulled over just because I had
Next to a
service right
cell
there.
tower or something.
Yeah, something. I just and Vinny was calling me to say, "Hey, I got a fish deducted," and I'm trying to make sure I had 19 fish on there. And so I was like, I don't really care. And I had a 14 and a quarter that they said mouth was open, so I was trying to find another picture of it where it didn't
Yeah.
get completely counted off. And I spent a solid 30 minutes between when I thought I was done submitting them all to when I was actually done submitting them. And I started my way to check in, you know, officially, you know, good, felt good about everything, and realized I didn't submit any fish for the local 5 fish tournament, and then
So you had to
didn't
turn
have
back
very good
around.
service. And I turned back around because I lost good service. You know,
Yeah.
Tony X really likes 2 bars on my phone. 1 bar, it may or may not go through. 2 bars, it will go through eventually if you keep
Yeah.
trying. And I looked down, I had 1 bar and turned back around and went and parked on the other side of the road in the same area, and got those 5 fish submitted through Fishing Chaos. And after all that, I was good to go. And still, after all of that hecticness, I think I was the fourth or fifth person to check in at that point. And at that point I realized, like, okay, I'm here 5 minutes after line's out. I should have fished longer, just out of
Yeah.
just should have, you know. I
Yeah,
didn't
used up
need
all
to,
your
but I should
time.
have, you know.
That's kind of crazy that you put up that limit that you did. So I guess we never really mentioned that you had 300 something inches. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
I
show it
had
on.
301 inches, maybe some change with that, but I had just a little over 300 inches on 19 fish. I think it was about a 15.5 inch average.
Wow, that's awesome. I think when we had Vinny on a couple weeks ago to talk about this event, and I think during that time I had told him I thought somewhere around 280 to 300 inches was going to win it, and turns out I was like almost right on the dot.
Yeah.
uh,
On the nose.
yeah, I was like, there's a lot of 15-inch fish in that lake. And I did say that it probably wasn't going to be me that caught it, so I nailed that too.
I think the thing that blew my mind, we had a lot of really big fish caught hour by hour, but the thing that I think, people weren't talking about enough was that the local event, five fish event, I finished third with 93 inches and got beat by
Oh
10
yeah,
inches,
yeah,
which, over 100 inches is incredible anywhere.
Yeah.
Over 103 inches on Tennessee River system this time of year is
for
hot,
sure.
hot, hot summer. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I don't know that I've seen a whole lot of events where over 100 inches is won on Guntersville either. I see a lot of like the 99 to 98-inch range.
Yeah, the last one I can remember somebody busting 100 on Guntersville was AJ McWhorter.
Oh wow,
He absolutely laid the wood to him for an event. I don't even know what event it was, but he caught him offshore at Guntersville, and I think kind of mid to late summer, very similar to what we just did. I'll have to check that out, but
yeah,
people don't realize what a hammer AJ is, and
doubt.
his statistically was when he was fishing tournaments a lot more. AJ is a fantastic angler.
Oh, I can tell too. Every time he goes out just to fun fish, he catches like 100-inch limit. It seems like, and I'm just like, God, dude, smashing them. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Seeing all AJ out there, but that local event, I'm pretty sure the guy in first place was also doing something kind of. I didn't get to hear the whole story of it, but somewhat offshore, dragging a worm
Yeah, he
over a
was
rock
he was
pile or
fishing.
something. He said,
Yeah, he was fishing rock in deeper water. I think Ethan, you probably will remember a little better than I did, but I think
Yeah.
he caught him in upper teens. Fish
He
dragging a
did.
shaky head.
He actually put in at the same ramp as I did. He was
"Oh wow,
he was offshore fishing rocks.
did you go drop
I
some of
think
his
he
waypoints too?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did talk to him quite a bit at the end of the event, and he was
Huh?
saying he fished a big magnum worm all on rocks in like 12 foot of water.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Huh?
that's the great thing about Guntersville. You can go out and do pretty much what you like to do and catch a
Yeah.
heck of a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
All
much all over the lake.
fun
Yeah.
fun fact: all 8 power hours were all caught. All those fish were
Yeah.
caught on 8 different baits,
Yeah.
eight
Yeah.
different techniques.
And Jordan Lee was up there on the stage talking about that. He was like, "I really thought we were going to see a lot more frogfish and what was the other bait he said? I can't remember, but yeah,
I
the
was
one they're
surprised.
like
I was surprised no
worms,
chatterbait fish.
chatterbaits, crankbaits. That was the one that threw me off a little bit. I
Yeah.
was like, "Who the heck's how you're throwing crankbaits in the grass?" I mean, it makes
Yeah, I don't
sense,
know if
but
you guys listened to KBN last night, but Josh Deal actually said he was reeling a Magnum square bill down to a certain depth on live scope and then basically twitching it
like a
like a
jerk
jerk
bait.
bait. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Which is wild. I've never done that and probably will never do that. Honestly, I'll
Yeah.
forget about it,
Yeah,
but that's crazy.
that's some really technical stuff there. I don't know if you
Yeah.
catch me doing that. Maybe for fun, just to try to figure that out, but I don't know if I got the confidence to do that in a tournament.
Yeah, that was probably something he should not have said because that
Yeah, no
sounds like a
kidding.
secret.
Yeah. I
Somebody's
want to
mad that he
say
talked about that.
Yeah.
yeah. I want to say I've probably seen that Ben Milliken guy. I don't know if you guys follow him at all, but he does a lot of that Magnum Square Bill stuff and doing that on live scope. I'm pretty sure he's mentioned that before, but I don't know if I've heard anybody in a kayak doing that. I feel like
Yeah.
those Magnum Square Bills will like drag you around, like start turning your
Yeah.
boat and stuff.
Yeah,
kinda like
they
the
got
old
some draw to them.
yeah.
Yeah. So man, you come in last minute at the end here and snipe the victory from Ethan. You get to go up on stage and get to hang out with the Jordan Lee up on stage. He was up there. What was that experience like?
That was really cool, man. I always enjoy fishing. You get mixed reviews about pros coming into kayak fishing events, or even pros just fishing local bass boat events. And
Yeah.
that's something I don't ever want to be the guy that shies away from. I'm always welcoming anybody and everybody that wants to come fish with us.
Yeah, I'd
I
almost encourage it because I like to be able to fish against those guys. Like
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like a litmus test of how
Yeah.
good you are
That
if
was
you're constantly fishing against pros.
that
But
was
Yeah.
actually my one goal for this tournament was to beat
yeah,
him. I just wanted to say I could beat him.
yeah,
So,
that was mine a couple years ago when I fished that Bassmaster Classic thing
yeah.
uh,
With Mike Iaconelli
with
or
Mike Iaconelli.
yeah.
Yeah, and I fished the same ramp he did, and I was like, that's my only goal here is that I want to beat him.
Yeah.
Turns
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
I was like 2 spots shy of beating him. But
What is it? I think it's really cool to see the pros get into kayaking and helping our great community grow. And
yeah,
was it
that's
you'll see they have so much draw from all the boat guys, and you see a lot of boat guys jumping over to kayaking now, and
for
just
sure.
it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and
It's
then
cheaper and
like some of those guys that are coming from from the bass boat world that are fishing in kayak, like Greg DePalma, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
And he's like starting to get really big into it, and
yeah. I always
like
think it's cool to see them talk about it's not as easy as it looks.
no,
Yeah. That's always a good feeling anytime any of them say that.
Yeah,
yeah. And then like when he's talking at check-in, talking about how he didn't know how you guys caught so many like 300 inches of fish from a kayak, like that's also cool to hear. Like that he's impressed by what you guys are able to do from your kayaks.
well,
And
oh, go
go
ahead,
go ahead,
Jordan.
Ethan. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was talking to him and I mentioned catching him on a wacky rig, and he said he never fishes it, and I'm like, well, you probably should. And he mentioned
Yeah,
I don't have the patience, and it's always you always hear of all the pros. They start to 250 up and run 10 miles down the lake. They don't have to pick apart an area like we do, and
yeah,
that just shows how many fish you can actually catch in an area when you pick it apart versus them starting the motor up and jumping spot to spot. And I
yeah,
thought
for
that was
sure.
kind of cool to listen to him say that and just talking to his theory of running around versus picking apart an area.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
And
What were you
to
gonna say,
speak
Jordan?
on like the power, you're talking about the power that those guys have of the of their platforms. One of
Yeah,
the
like the
first things
exposure.
Yeah, one of the first things that my papa said when I got home, my barn is just right near their house. And he was like, I heard you beat a pro. And I was like, absolutely, I did. And I said, he got dominated. He didn't get beat, he got dominated.
Yeah, would you like triple his limit for the event or something like that?
Yeah, it was a little more than double.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. I ain't
No,
keeping
no big
I ain't
deal.
keeping count or anything.
That's wild, man. I mean, and then that's something you can always say is like going forward, like if you have kids someday or something, it's hey, I beat a pro one time at, at I beat
Yeah.
Jordan Lee,
Yeah.
two-time Bassmaster Classic champion. I beat him.
One of my really good local friends that fishes is a fantastic fisherman in its own right. His name's also Jordan, and he sent me a text. He said, "Did you beat Jordan Lee?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "So I guess I'm the third best Jordan now, and you're the first." And I was like, "As of right now, this moment, yes,
Yes,
this
that's
moment."
freaking awesome. Well, you guys had an awesome event, and you guys got some good prizes too. Jordan, did you get to take home a kayak?
Yeah, I took home a Native Slayer Propel Max 10 that is sitting on top of my trailer.
Is that I want to say that's a pretty light boat for what it is, like a
Yeah,
pedal
it's
drive.
fairly light pedal drive. Yeah, I was looking it up online. I made Vinny and Jordan Lee load it up on my trailer for me. So
Just
it
rubbing
was.
in his face a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, it was. I was making jokes and commenting. He said, "You have somewhere to take this home?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I brought a trailer and extra straps. Let's go."
I came prepared for this thing. I
Oh
knew I was
yeah,
going to take it.
and he kind of gave me a funny look at first, and Vinny kind of backed me up. He's like, "I'm more surprised that he wasn't on the leaderboard most of the day." He's like, "I knew something was up."
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's all in good fun. It was, it was. I would definitely plan on fishing one of those native events again. That format was a lot of fun. Benny does a great job. Hopefully we
Yeah,
see Jordan Lee back in some events. And honestly, I would love to see some more pros at some of these other events we go to, like see Ike at Susky, or see some of those guys.
yeah,
Maybe not even native guys, but to see other guys in that style event and fish against those guys more would be something I would look forward to.
yeah, for sure. And it's cool getting to talk with them, like, and getting their insight on the differences between the two worlds, and just getting that exposure, I guess.
Right.
But anyways, you guys got any sponsors or anything you want to thank? Um,
Yeah.
we're getting close to the end of our show here. I've kept you guys for a hot minute, it seems like, but
Well,
uh, yeah,
um,
either you start.
yeah, we have to say something about the dugout bait and tackle. We
Oh yeah,
we
running the
swept the floor, first, second,
swept
and
the
third.
and a
Yeah.
couple of the power hour or the
Yep.
hourlies. You guys took home three of
Jordan and
those. Is that right? Three or four of them?
Jordan and Josh won. Did anybody else? Do you know Jordan?
I think that was it from the
That's what
dugout
I
crew.
think.
I could be wrong, but I do believe it was just us with the hourlies, and then we swept all top podium finishes.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yeah, the
dynasty. You guys
mullets
are
were
a
flying.
dynasty right now. You're the dynasty of kayak fishing, the dugout team.
Yeah, it's an honor to be on their team, definitely. So, um,
That's really cool.
one of the baits that worked a lot for me was a Torn Outdoors striker. So I'm on their team. I have to thank
Yeah,
them. Fish Seaguard, um, and then Thunder Rocket Lures and Bad Boy Jigs. That's
that's awesome. That's a good
two
lineup.
my biggest.
How about you, Jordan? You got any sponsors or anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I've got a lot of people. I've been working with some awesome people, trying to get stuff for the end of this year and even next year. I've got a couple really cool things in the works, but dugout's been a really big help this year of not only helping me out, but helping me get in contact with a lot of other people. I got hooked up with the owner about halfway through the year because of dugout. Lose, Strike King. I- I've been really loving those American heroes that I've had this year.
Yeah, uh,
Everybody knows I beat everything to death, and I
yeah.
can't seem to find anything wrong or that I can tear up on those American Hero camo reels. So they look good. They survive getting beat to death by me.
It's one
But
of the first combos that I learned, I guess, to throw a bait caster on was an American Hero, but it was the blue and black one.
yeah,
Uh, and I always preach on that one, I guess, that combo for people that are starting out or trying to learn how to throw a bait caster. That's a solid little combo, and
it's
like,
it's fantastic. I'm big on things that are durable and have a lot of bang for your buck.
yeah,
Because I'm not the guy that's out there throwing $600 rods and $500 reels.
yeah,
I've spent way more time buying $100 reels and putting bearings in them and trying to make them where they'll last a long time than I ever will buy super high end stuff. So that's not really my style. But I really like those. It's been great for me.
Yeah.
But Lose, Strike King, Owner hooks, MillerTech lithium batteries, Revo sunglasses, and I need to get me a big hat like sponsor or something because it's getting hot. I got my
Yeah.
big sombrero looking hat.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find you one.
Yeah, but those owner hooks on those caffeine shads have been a big deal for me this year. I haven't.
What type of hook are you running on that?
It's actually a thinner wire hook. It's kind of just a regular worm hook. And I know a lot of guys like throwing the beefier like the beast or the jungle
Yeah.
hooks that have kind of the silver finish on them. But
Yeah.
honestly, anytime that I can get away with the smallest, thinnest diameter hook possible, I'm throwing a
Makes sense.
3-aught on the caffeine shad, just kind of a regular thinner wire worm hook. I don't know the exact specific one. I can almost read it off my wall, but I can't right here.
Yeah.
But it's just a thinner wire cutting point that comes in a red and white package. Nothing
Yeah.
super crazy, but it gets the job done. They're super sharp, and I like to go with the thinnest hook I can get away with, and kind of not have to worry about having to set the hook as hard, and then you have to worry about your line and things of that nature. So
Yeah, that I mean, that makes perfect sense, especially in a kayak where you don't have as much leverage to set the hook in the first place. And then I guess like if you're fishing around grass and stuff and you get a fish that digs into the grass, you can pull your boat to the fish instead of trying to
yeah,
pull the fish out of the grass. So you don't have to worry about as much about like bending out hooks and stuff like that.
yeah.
So that's a great point. That's cool. That's cool insight there. Uh,
I really like the twist lock owners for my flukes and caffeine shads and such. That's what I use.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
those.
I've got a couple of those as well. I think that's what I was throwing a speed worm on when we were in Florida was the twist locks because you know how those fish were in Florida. If you got around them, you get a bunch of bites at one time, and it seemed like it would make that worm last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the if you put that little bit bigger spring on it, it'll hold get a better bite in that worm, and it'll typically hold on as long as the back end of the worm is not getting
Yeah,
destroyed. But uh, well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on with us tonight. It's great. It's a great event. I really enjoyed it. I wish I would have probably taken it a little more seriously in the long run. I wish I would have like spent a little more time prepping that week to get ready for it. I just kind of winged it and I suffered because of that. I was lucky to even
Sometimes,
have water with me. But
sometimes just showing up, you
yeah,
can you can do the best.
yeah, I've had that happen before, but that it wasn't on this one. Uh, but yeah, it was an awesome event, and you guys killed it. And you took home some good money. I think what you what did you get for first? Like a little over 2 grand or something like that, or
I think I ended up with 1,300 for first individually, and then I ended up with a
oh yeah, yeah,
1,000 for an hourly, and then I think that kayak retails for $2,700. So
yeah. So
not
like
not a bad payday. I think that puts me over $15,000 I've won on Guntersville alone this year. So
Jesus,
Whew.
that and
that's
that's
becoming
not
the
bad
home
for
pond.
a single day event. So this wasn't like a you had to fish a multi day to do that.
Yeah, both of those actually, both of those events that I've cashed checks on at Guntersville were both single days. So
Well, maybe you can break that streak on coming up on the Tennessee Bass Nation.
yeah, I would love to go back to back state champ.
Yeah,
I know that's way easier said than done. So I know the odds of that happening are super slim, even on a place that I really love fishing and have had a lot of success this time of year at. So I'm not going to kind of get in my head on either day. I think you know I just want to go and catch them on a buzz bait and have some fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's really what that's going to boil down to. I've been super blessed to have the year that I've had and have had some success. I think the only event that I'm going to get probably somewhat spun out over or super uptight about and really hyper focused on is
Yeah.
TOC at this point. That's
At on Chickamauga.
yeah, on Chick.
Yeah.
I've got Tennessee State Championship and Georgia State Championship in the next couple months that I'm going to really put a lot of effort into, but it's going to be a lot more relaxed. I spent a lot of time worried about that one, and we got that
Yeah.
one. The odds of going back to back state champ or having Angler of the Year and state champion in the same year is nobody's ever done that, and it's
That's what I was gonna say.
incredibly hard.
That
So
trophy sitting there, if anybody for any of our listeners that he's pointing at, is the Tennessee Bass Nation Angler of the Year trophy. So that'd be pretty
it's
wild if you could pull that off,
it
winning
would be
Angler of the
wild.
Year
It
and
would
state, and going back to
it would
back.
be crazy. Yeah,
So
it would. The odds are extremely stacked against me. I mean, either one of those things doesn't come easy, and to have a chance to do a lot of them at the same time is a dream essentially. So I'm not going to get too spun out over it and just go and keep my usual, go eat my Jeffersons Friday night in Scottsboro,
yeah,
Alabama, and do the usual and stay at my family house and just kind of chill out and just go with the flow and see what happens. Make the best of the day, cover water, and if it works out, it works out.
yeah, that sounds like a good approach. I'll be there trying to take your money, but at the
Bring it
end of the day,
on,
I'll be I'll be rooting
bring it
for you if
on.
if it ends up bad for me. So um anyways, yeah, so you got that coming up next, Ethan, you got that as well.
I
Um
do. Yeah, I'll be going up there some probably Thursday before, play around a little bit,
yeah.
and
What about
after
the rest
that,
of your all season? Is that Jordan kind of laid out his season for us?
yeah, the rest of the big events, I'm gonna go to Susky for the Bassmaster, and
Oh, that's gonna be
I think
awesome.
it's in October.
Yeah, 7th and 8th or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and
First
then
weekend October. Yeah,
if I can swing it, I'll be at Sam Rayburn for the Hobie event.
yeah.
Yeah.
That the last one of the season, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's at the end of October, I believe. Maybe even the first.
I got it here on
No,
my
yeah.
calendar somewhere. Let me check it.
I've got 9 events left on my schedule. That's part of this season still.
Wow, that's like almost some people's full season.
Yeah, it's been hectic. We've got like we were talking about, both Bass Nation state championships for Tennessee and Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia's is actually on Seminole, and I might be as excited about Georgia Bass Nation being at Seminole as I am the Tennessee being at Guntersville.
yeah.
And then we have another cast, Kayak Angler
Oh
Society
yeah,
Oh,
of Tennessee, of course. That's going to
Tim's
be at
Ford.
Tim's Ford. So that's another one of those, kind of like the native, that doesn't have a quote unquote typical format where it's best 5 fish over 2 days. So I might go and throw a glide bait the entire time. And
Yeah.
that the cast state championship is always not done me the friendliest of gestures. I've got 2 top
Me
10s
neither,
in
man.
6 years. So even when they fished the event at the Holston and the French Broad, I helped get that event there and tried to help plan it and everything, and
Yeah,
led it up until like the last hour or so, and ended up finishing third on the home river. So that's one of my worst finishes there, and it just happened to be a big event, just that particular event. So
yeah.
I don't have super high expectations for the Cass State Championship, so we're going to go play with house money since we've had a good year, and just
Might as
throw
well
throw a
just
buzz
send it.
bait too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a ton of experience on Tim, so I'm looking forward to that one. I can't believe I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was sitting here skipping over that myself, but we
Yeah,
all got that one coming up. It sounds like.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
follow Ethan Jett around for that one.
The only bad
Yeah,
thing is the water is going to be drawing down during that event, so that'll get a little rough. But
it's a
it should
pretty
be a
deep
fun.
lake though, so
Yeah,
you should be
yeah.
able to find. Um, but yeah, that'll be a fun one. And then you got TOC coming up after that, and all kinds of other stuff. It sounds like be on the road a lot or just mostly local.
I'll be
Uh,
on the road a little bit.
Yeah,
Jordan.
yeah, it's quite a bit on the road. It's nice to have TOC within about 2 hours or so of the house. Guntersville's 2.5 hours, 3 hours to where a lot of the check-ins are. Um, Seminole's obviously quite a ways. Tim's Ford's about 3 hours. I've got some local events that we're gonna do, and some point in the middle of that, I've got some golf tournament mixed in. Like as soon as I get back from TOC, I play a golf tournament in Nashville. So I basically go like TOC golf
yeah.
tournament and then to Seminole. So that's going to be a fun week. I'm actually looking forward to that one. I forgot about that.
Tournaments after tournaments, man. That's wild.
Just throwing a golf tournament in there too, just to make
Yeah,
make sure I'm staying humble because I'm going to lose that one.
yeah. Gotta get your pride or your what's it called checked. Your pride checked, I guess.
Yeah, I got golf balls that say road dogging on it though, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tell me a little bit about your show. You just started that. Was that last week? Was your first show, or did
Yeah, last week was the first show. I interviewed a really good friend of mine, Eric Thomason. Um, you know, I felt like the show went rather well. It was more of a conversation than it was kind of what I had originally wanted it to. Obviously, it's the first episode.
yeah,
Probably tomorrow night. Excuse me. Probably tomorrow night. I'll be interviewing Jim Ware, which will be my next guest on Road Dog, and I'm not sure when that's gonna kind of pop out, but
yeah,
we're gonna record that one and post it up later. But the focus is try to get into more stories, more things that happen to people on the road. How much they're traveling, kind of that nature. I always got to start somewhere. I'm happy with the first podcast. It went a little long. It went like an hour and 45 minutes when I was playing an hour.
yeah.
So
Nothing wrong with
uh,
that.
yeah, it picked up flow at about 45 minutes, and we just kept rolling after that.
Yeah.
So
Every
got
time
all
Jimmy lets me run the show, I get so sidetracked and just like stuff. It gets way longer than what it's supposed to be.
yeah, but
Well,
I'm
Crow
excited.
has so many stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Eric have seen a lot of stuff on the road together, and we didn't even really get into a bunch of those stories. You know, there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to have Eric come back on. I've got more of a question list now that I've sat down and tried to hammer that out. We just winged it for an hour and 45 minutes, no questions written down, and we just started
Yeah.
rolling.
I just I don't prep or anything for these. I just let it go. Just send it. Well, I got the format pretty much down, but
Yeah.
yeah, just go for it. A
I was
lot
a
of the
bull in
times
a
I feel
china
like
shop. I didn't know what to break first. You know what I mean?
yeah. A lot of the times I feel like at least listening to a show, I kind of like I enjoy the ones where it just seems like it's a conversation the whole time, and not really like a set list of questions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It seems
There's
like it's
there's a
just
balance in
easier
there
to listen.
somewhere, and I'm sure at some point I'm gonna spend too much time asking questions and not having
Yeah.
things ramble naturally. But like I said, everybody's got to start somewhere. I'm very happy and very proud of the first episode, and we're gonna roll from there. But
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I'll throw a link in our description for it, so people can check out your show.
I really
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah. Well, with that, I'm gonna get on to going over some of the events that happened over the weekend. You guys are free to hop off here if you want to. You can stay on. Doesn't matter to me. It takes me a minute to read through these, so it might get kind of
I'm
long.
I'm gonna sit here and listen to you. I'm gonna throw a cough
Yeah.
drop in and listen to you.
All right. All right, sounds good. So over the last week, we had a few events that happened. It's not as long as it usually is, but first up, we had the 2023 Grassroots Bass Yakin on White River in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was a multi-single day event. So over the course of 4 days, you could pick a day to fish, and you could only fish that day. So yeah, they had 37 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Tyler Purdue with 95 inches, which dang, that's pretty good for Indiana. I don't that ever see that out of Indiana. Second place was David Cox with 83. See, 83 and a quarter inches, like a 13-inch or 12-inch lead on that. Third place was Alex Deneau with 82 inches. Then after that, we had another grassroots bass yakking event on Raccoon Lake. It was another multi-single day event. 32 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Michael Luke with 80 and a quarter inches. Second place, Jim Bailey with 77 and 3/4 inches. And third place with Brian Moore with 76 inches. Then we had another grassroots bass yak in Neona and South Mud Lakes in Rochester, Indiana. Multi single day event. 27 anglers, 5 fish limit. Caden Zeck with 81 inches. Ryan Reedy in second place with 80 and 3/4 inches. And third place was James Miller with 78 and 3/4 inches. Those multi single days are kind of cool. I might have to start implementing that in our central group so people can pick which day they fish instead of everybody being locked into Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. Then after that, we had a Canada event, the 2023 Ontario Bass Nation Kayak Bass Masters Championship. So their championship on Stony Lake in Bertie Falls, Ontario, Canada. 2-day event, 60 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place with Chris Tatosco with 169 inches. He had 82 and a half first day, 86 and a half second day. Second place was Shane Fernandez with 165 and a half inches with 83 and a half first day, 82 inches second day. Third place was Andrew McGuire with 163 inches, 85 and 3/4 first day. So he's leading it first day. No, maybe he was. And then 77 and a quarter second day. So a little bit of a drop off second day. But we need to get somebody from Canada on at some point. They've had some pretty good turnouts this year. Some of their events, some big numbers. That's a lot of like. I think one day I saw like 190 angler event in Canada.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was like, I didn't even know there was that many people in Canada that kayak fish like that. But
there's so many lakes up there. You can just pond hop pretty much to all the different lakes.
Yeah. And they got like tons of different types of water up there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but I guess their window for fishing is only like 4 months of the year. So when, when it's on, everybody's out and doing it. Then after that, we had the 2023 Mountain State Kayak Anglers New River Tournament in Hinton, West Virginia. 30 anglers, 4 fish limit. First place with Heath Mullins with 68 and a quarter inches. What's that in 4 fish? Like a little less, like 16-inch average or something like
Yeah,
that.
16 and change. Yeah, 16 and a half, I think.
Okay, that's not bad. Second place was Philip Backus with 66 and 3/4 inches. Third place was Joey Johnson with 64 and a half inches. That was on the New River? Yeah. West Texas kayak fishing San Angelo. I'm sure I butchered that. RR, is that a river radius? In Santa Angelo, Texas. 56 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Chase Lawson with 92 inches. Second, Corey Griffin with 91 inches. And third, Angel Garcia with 86 and a half. Gene Cooper, fourth place, caught a 23 and a half inch fish. That's a stout fish. What was the biggest one in this no limit event? Was it a 22?
22
22
and
and
a
a
half.
half.
Yeah.
22 and a half. I didn't think it was going to be anything over 2022 for that. I don't think I rarely see those 23s show up at Guntersville.
Yeah, that's a special fish if they bust 23 on G.
Yeah. That's probably fat. You
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so after that we only got a couple more here, but we got the Moyak 2023 Wapapello Wapapello Lake uh, kayak bass tournament in Wapapello, Missouri. 43 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place is Robert Swearingen with 88.5 inches. Second place is Josh Keats with 84 3/4 inches. And third place was Lance Burris with 80 inches. Uh, Something that's kind of cool going through these is seeing like some of the local events and seeing some of those guys that fish nationally
Yeah.
show up in some of them and seeing how they're doing. They don't just win stuff nationally; they definitely win stuff locally too. Like Jordan, I think we've said your name on here on these reel downs probably like 20 times this year.
I've
uh,
fished a lot. You fish a lot, you end up in places, more
yeah,
often. That's what it boils down to.
yeah. It's that experience, man. Time on the water. It
Yeah.
matters. Um, After that, we have the 2023 Kayak Bass League Super Series Championship on Turtle Flambeau Flowage, Mercer. What is that? In Mercer, Wisconsin. It's a 2-day tournament, 38 anglers, 10 fish limit. First place with Chris Rod with 170 3/4 inches. So it's a pretty good fish there in Turtle Flambeau Flowage. Uh, Second place was Scott O'Glanian with 166 inches, and third place was Atif Goodman with 162 inches. After that, we got Heartland Kayak Anglers, Mozingo Lake, Maryville, Missouri. 31 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Lucas Engen with 87 inches. Second place was Kevin Mock with 82 inches, and third was Chung Pham with 81.5 inches.
Did you say Maryville, Missouri?
That's what it looks like.
I live in Maryville, Tennessee, and people call our office at work because we're city of Maryville, and people from Missouri will call our office and be like, "Yeah, y'all missed my garbage." It's like, "All right, what street you live on?" And they'll start telling us some random street we don't even have. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Uh,
go check that out and fish a tournament in Maryville, Missouri now because they've called our office many times.
yeah, you need to hit up Mozingo Lake.
Mozingo Lake. I'm gonna have to fish that now.
Yeah. Uh, what after that? We got the Miniac Elite Trail, stop number 5 in Lake Minnewaska in Glenwood, Minnesota. 32 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Nate Juanke with 89.5 inches. Second place was Elvis Lee with 87 inches. And third was Jake Kaiser with 86 1/4. Those are pretty good limits for Minnesota. I don't know what kind of fish are in Lake Minnewaska. Three more here. We're almost there. Kansas Kayak Anglers in Cedar Bluff, uh, Kansas. 27 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Jake Schwartzkopf with 86 inches. Second was Cole Spriggs with 83 1/4. And third was Scott Reese with 83 inches. After that, we got the 2023 Minnesota Kayak Fishing Association Clearwater Outfitting Kayak Bass Fishing Tournament. What a long name for a tournament. I
I'd
don't
like
know
to
how
see
you
the
can fit.
acronym.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
In Chanhassen, Minnesota. 52 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Leslie Kavidura with 92 1/4 inches. Then after that, you had Len Yang with 91 inches, and then after that, Li Vang with 88.25 inches. My mouse just died here. Let me get my reserve one queued up. Here we go. And then after that, we got Ohio Kayak Open Series, Alum Creek, Columbus, Ohio. 25 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place was Brad Lehman with 74.5 inches. Second place was Dwight Bartlett with 71 inches. And third place was Sean Skidmore with 70.5. That is our rail down for the week. And then, of course, we had the Native No Limit event. 115 anglers. First place, Jordan Marshall with, what'd you have, 301 inches.
Yeah, 301, something like that. Yeah.
Then Ethan with 250. I saw somewhere where it had it earlier. I don't know where I saw that at.
I
But
think I
it's
had
not
like
showing me on the Tourney
258
X page. 258? Is that what you
and
said?
some change. Yeah.
Oh, it might have been on the app that I saw it.
Ethan had 254.25.
Yeah, 254.25. You
And
had
third
301 on the
place,
dot.
third place was Josh Stewart with 226 even.
Very nice. And the hourlies for those all were all over 21 inches. And then there was a 22 and half or quarter.
Josh Deal caught a 22.5. That was big bass.
Nice.
in the middle
And
of
he
the
took home
day
a boat
too.
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, he took home a boat. Yeah.
That's a crazy one fish getting you. So he won like $1,000 plus that whatever thing, the sponsor prize.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
was the sponsor
But-
prize the boat?
No, I think he got an hourly big sponsor prize, which is like $500
Yeah.
of product.
Yeah. And
then the $1,000, and then the boat.
It was a Slayer Max 12, wasn't it, or something like that?
I almost
Max
want to say
10.
he got a Titan.
A Titan?
Did he get a Titan?
I thought it was a
One was a Propel, wasn't it? Like a Slayer Propel.
Mine was a
Yeah,
Slayer Propel 10. I don't know exactly what his has. I know his the big thing about his was a very specific color. That's a new color that the only person that had it was Jordan Lee so far.
Yeah. And I think the one that, so when I looked at Jordan Lee's pictures, I think he was in that new Titan. So I think that the new Titan comes in that color. But I think that the boat that he won was a Slayer Max 12, maybe.
Yeah.
His boat was bigger than the one I have. That's all I know.
Yeah. But that's kind of crazy. One fish win all of that. But
hopefully they'll have some more tournaments down here in next year. So I'll fish them.
Yeah, I'd like to get in another one or two of those. What do they got left for the year?
I think they're going out west.
Yeah, the next event's in Texas.
Texas.
Oh, that's on
they
Lake
had
Fork.
another one that was somewhere in the south. Maybe we already missed it. Yeah, Lake Fork, and then before that they got Columbia River up northwest in Washington or Oregon or something like that. I can't remember which one of those.
That's an interesting one. It's good to see somebody trying to go out there and have an event.
Yeah, like in our recap, sometimes we have some of the Washington angler. I forgot what their club is called, but they have events that show up on there with some pretty awesome limits. Sometimes I see a lot of like 90 something inch limits.
It'll be interesting to see the participation in that one out there.
Yeah,
that's why you always hear a lot of tournaments going out there, and it just kind of flops.
It's weird that it's like if a national trail goes there, it sometimes doesn't go well, but then some of the local stuff that happens there is like 200 people show up to it.
Yeah.
Like, where are these people at for the for the bigger ones?
And that's the question everybody asks.
Yeah. But I'm hoping to see some good participation. We like seeing those big trails going out west and at least making the attempt to put them on their schedule and all that.
Yeah.
So with that, that'll do it for our show tonight. We appreciate you guys coming on again, and thanks for sticking around and for listening to my spiel there.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having us.
Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you.
good time. Good time talking with you, and I'll see you guys down on Guntersville here in a couple weeks. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Bring your A game. Bring Jordan Lee with you too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna hit him up for some pins right now. Speaking of that, I actually forgot I saw Ryan Salzman at the ramp that I was leaving. Uh, he was with a guide. He was guiding a couple people, I guess, and was tying on a punch rig on my way out. I was like, "Good luck with that, man."
That is the cool thing about Tennessee River. You'll no telling who you'll see at the
Yeah,
boat ramp
yeah.
or even at the tackle shops. And
It always seems like it's like a who's who at that in that area. You just run
yeah.
into all those big anglers and stuff. So next week, not sure what we'll be covering next week, but we'll have something for you. We'll figure it out. We may actually try to get something on about the new series that Drew and a few other guys are starting up. Maybe try to get some coverage on that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But with that, hope you guys have a good night. Appreciate you coming on again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see it.
See ya.